Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Garden Room Podcast. If you are new here, my name is Mari Thrower, and these are just devotional videos to hopefully encourage you throughout your week and hopefully be a place of growth with God and with other people. And I'm so excited, you guys, for this episode. I feel like I say that every week, honestly, but it's just exciting to see the Lord move and just being able to see how He's working in my life and helping me to work through different things that I've been struggling with, and being able to share that with you guys and knowing that you guys are here, it just excites me and just fills me up with so much joy. And so before we get into today's episode, a little question of the day that kind of ties into what we're going to be talking about is just what's a piece of advice that you've been able to hold on to or stuck out to you, or just the best piece of advice you've been given. I honestly listened to Sadie Robertson's podcast, Whoa, That's Good. It is really good, actually. So you guys should go listen to that if you're ever looking for any more podcasts. But I've been rocking with her for years, ever since I was young. And I just love how she starts off her podcast with good advice. And so I thought that would be a fun question of the day. And you guys just drop yours in the comments. I would love to see them, love to learn from them and hear from you guys. But for me, a piece of advice that has stuck with me for years that I've heard said over and over was something that my great-grandmother said that has been passed down to my mom and now to me. And it is, pretty is as pretty does. And you guys, that statement right there has honestly shaped the way that I have been able to view what is pretty and what is seen as beautiful. And have I lived by that? No, not necessarily. I wish I could say I've upheld that statement through and through, but I have not in a lot of ways. However, it has been something that I've been able to cherish and remember in those seasons and in those moments where I don't feel beautiful, or I don't feel pretty, and I don't feel acknowledged or wanted or seen by other guys, or even just by people in general, when you want to be admired for who you are and how you look. And we're in a society that is constantly feeding us this kind of lie and this kind of just assumption that if we get it all together on the outside, then that's what really matters, and that is where people are going to see you as valuable or as worthy or as beautiful or as pretty. And I don't know if you guys have watched or heard of the show, The Summer I Turned Pretty. Disclaimer, I don't fully condone or support everything that goes on in the show. However, I don't want to act like I never watch TV and act like I only listen to uplifting podcasts or messages or just only listen to Christian music. I do love different aspects of that show, especially living by the beach. I feel like I just relate to different little things, which is funny to say, being like in my early to mid 20s. And I love scrolling like on TikTok and stuff, seeing like 30-year-olds and people just resonate with this little teenage drama. But the show, just essentially, if you've never seen it, it's about a girl who, this is a summer where she just changes and she is growing into her young womanhood and is transitioning and feeling pretty, and is now getting recognized by some of her close childhood friends and some of her childhood crushes, and just now being seen as this different standard of beauty than she was before. And I'm not really here to talk about the show as much as talk about how many times in my life, from just middle school to high school and even now, when there's different little insecurities that try to attack and try to just weigh you down in terms of how you look. And for me, I can go through a whole list in terms of my hair, my teeth, my skin, my height, my body weight, all these different things that I kept letting dictate whether or not I was going to be seen as pretty. And it just felt like this never-ending list that I had to check off. And for some reason, it seemed like every time I checked one thing off, like, oh, I actually like the way my hair looks, or my skin actually cleared up, it would be a whole nother thing of like, I don't like the way my body looks, or I don't like the way this is looking. And so for me, the goal was always trying to have that one season of life where I'm like, I actually feel pretty, I actually feel noticed. And some of those girls had those glow ups over the summer. I personally don't think I was ever that girl. I just still to this day, I'm like, still waiting. But in reality, you guys, you kind of grow and mature and realize that's not everything. But there's still something in you and something in me, I'll speak for myself, where you want to have that validation of, I'm beautiful. And I wish I could walk around confidently and say, I am in my young 20s and I feel beautiful all the time and I know who I am. But in reality, and honestly, watching that show and mirroring the fact that I'm like, there's still some insecurities that I've carried from my young teenage years all the way up until now, where I'm like, I am still looking for that validation and where I can feel beautiful on the outside. So it hits in different ways. And even the other day, I was just like, man, I just don't like the way I look right now. And I know who I am in Christ. I know that doesn't define me. However, when you start to let all these different little things start to weigh you down, that society can kind of be overwhelming about, you have to have the perfect lips, the perfect eyebrows, the perfect hair, the perfect nails, the perfect outfit, the perfect car, the perfect house, and you have to have them all together, all at the same time, continuously, then that's pressure. That's pressure that I try to act like doesn't bother me. I try to act like I'm fine with, but in reality, those things start to get into your mindset and your headspace of, if I can't uphold these, other people aren't going to see me as beautiful. Therefore, my value and my worth are going to take a hit. But the other day, I really had to just hold on to the truth and that piece of advice that was so simple and so meaningful. And although I never got the chance to meet my great grandmother, hearing those words from my mom and how much it resonated with her, and knowing that those have been spoken for years and years and years. And I don't know where she heard that from to even begin with, but it reminded me that the things that I do and the things that I not just do out of like good works, but the things that I do for God is what is actually beautiful in His sight. It's what is defined as pretty, because I can have it all together from head to toe, but if I am not operating out of a place of purity, out of a place of purpose, out of a place of peace, and out of a place of just passion for the things of God, and really just for loving other people well, if I am not operating in my actions in a way that is glorifying to the Lord, then am I really showcasing the beauty of how He has made me? Am I really showcasing the things and the qualities that He wants me to, or is all my focus on just my skincare routine and my hair routine? And I want to make it super clear that all of those things are very valuable, are still a part of who you are. I love being able to just work out and take care of my body. Do I do it all the time? No, not as much as I should, but it makes you feel good afterwards. It scientifically is proven, like there's things that release in your body that you feel good after taking care of your body in that way. But should that define the way I see myself as beautiful? Not necessarily, or really not at all. But same thing with my hair routine, same thing with my skin routine, or whatever that looks like for you, whether it's your clothes and you want to just get a new wardrobe and you want to change out your style. It's still an outward expression of who you are internally, but don't let those things define who you are, and don't let those things outweigh the things that you need to be working on internally. And I think that was, for me, the biggest thing, where I still would let those things add more value to my life than the things that were going on internally. I knew that pursuing purpose was important, and I knew that pursuing God's presence is meaningful, and I knew that the words that the Lord has spoken over me and the areas that He's wanting me to just grow and change in are very valuable. But the amount of time or money, that's a whole nother conversation. The amount of money I have spent trying to make myself feel good on the outside, and even the amount of time I've spent trying to make myself look like this certain person on Instagram or even in person, has been way too much of my thought process versus how am I really looking internally. And honestly, those things will start to show. People can see your beauty on the outside and can admire that and can love that. And I feel like that is a great thing. I feel like everyone should take the time to admire and to encourage and to support, especially from girl to girl, other people. And I know even when it comes down to relationships and things, the right guy, and I want to say this and encourage whoever it is who's waiting, who feels like guys don't see me, who feels like I'm never noticed, feels like I'm never picked to go to homecoming or prom, or even have like a date in terms of different college events, or even people who are working, who are just like, I just feel like I'm not seen, and I feel like I have to go out of my way. The right guy will see you and will see you as beautiful at the right time. And I know that we hear that all the time. It's always just like said to you, like a little pat on the head. If you just wait, it'll happen when you are least expecting it, and just keep trusting in God's timing. I've heard that over and over again. And sometimes it's just kind of like people are just saying that to make you feel good. But the truth is, God will send the right person at the right time. He really will. And I've had to keep telling myself that and trusting in that and knowing that God's got me. However, I'm not just going to wait on that person, and I'm not just going to only feel valuable when another man tells me that I'm beautiful or I'm pretty. And I feel like that is so important for us to grab hold to, because I have to also recognize that that's not promised to me. Like, it's a desire in my heart, but it's not a promise. And honestly, God has promised me so many other beautiful things in this life and with His presence that I get to hold on to, that when I'm really reflecting on that and really being fulfilled in the things that God is speaking over my life, I don't feel the need to have that validation from another guy, or I don't need to feel like I have to have all of this just support and people admiring me and people saying, oh my goodness, I love your outfits, I love your style, you just have it all together. Those things make me feel good, but at the same time, they eat away at your character and who you are when they define you. I've lived that out, especially I'll say in this past year. I was so incredibly insecure in grabbing hold to so many different people, trying to just uphold this look, because I had just taken a hit in some areas of my life that were just truly defining who I was without me even realizing it. And I didn't really want to give that to God either, because normally that's not the case for me. Normally I know who I am in Christ. Normally I don't really need people to tell me things. But this past year, I just was like, what happened to that strength that I had? And God was like, you have to give that over to me. And you have to keep trusting that the things that you are doing, the things that I've called you to, are the things that are really going to showcase the beauty of not just of who you are, but who I am in you. God is so incredibly admirable and beautiful and wonderful and pleasing to just the eye when we look at His creation, and to our hearts when we acknowledge who He is and let Him fill us up. And when you're able to just grab hold and really take a moment to let God purify and just be intentional about His time with you and develop you through your actions and through what you believe and what you do, those things are going to start outshining just the outward appearance. People are going to start noticing how much peace you carry, how much security you carry, how much confidence you carry. And so when you think about, man, I want to be noticed in this outward appearance, let that be something that is really coming from the inside of saying, I'm already noticed by God. Therefore, everything outwardly that I want to work on, whether it's keeping your nails in check, keeping your hair together, keeping your appearance and your outfits and all that together, I feel like there's so many fun, beneficial aspects of that, like I've said. But genuinely allowing God to secure who you are and not letting those things just add and take away from the value of who you are as a person and as an individual, because they may seem little, they may seem small, but those little things add up. Those little things start to weigh you down piece by piece by piece. And I started to lose myself in all these different aspects. And it's not just exterior, it can also be in your job. and where you work and your status and all your titles. That was another thing for me too. I'm like, I'll take another medal of academic this, I'll take another medal of best at doing that. And you start to wanting to collect all these outward things that just puff up your spreadsheet of all the things that you've accomplished, all the things that you are, and you let those things define you. And it may not be about your clothes or your car or all these exterior things, but still the things you've accomplished. If those things define you and those things make you feel good, but you're not really getting that source of fulfillment from God, then you will find yourself still not exuding the beauty of Christ. And so I want to read you guys this verse out of Psalms 51. It is verse 10, and it says, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew in me a steadfast spirit," or a right spirit, some translations say. And I really needed to hear this verse recently, because I wanted the Lord to really change that just little girl in me, that insecurity in me, that doubt in me, that I am pretty by how I just look, to change in me a pure heart, to say, God, renew my spirit, that I am able to do things that are beautiful for your kingdom, because I can uphold and obtain all these standards of beauty that society has told me to do. But if I am not confident in who I am in here, I will still not be beautiful in the ways that matter to you most. And honestly, other people can start seeing that too. I know I'm talking about how we need to operate in just the beauty of the Lord and for Him and for His glory, but we all know that person who has been all put together on the outside, but they just kind of have a mean spirit. They only value themselves. They only look out for themselves. They might be nice and kind on the surface, but ultimately deep down inside, you get to know them and they really aren't the person that you thought they would be. Or for me, I've been guilty of doing that, where I have probably been a lot more rude behind the scenes, or have needed to check my attitude, yet I try to be, looking like I am this pretty person on the outside, or trying to just my hardest to seem like I'm the kindest person in the room, but deep down inside, my heart's not pure. It's not with good intentions. It's just to look good. Or another thing is, I've tried so hard to be admirable on the outside, but as soon as someone saw the root in me, the insecurities started to take over of, I need you to keep affirming me. I need you to keep telling me I look this way. I need you to keep reassuring me. Those things are not pretty. Those things are things that God is saying, give that to me so I can make it pure, so I can make it whole. You don't have to keep chasing after all these different avenues to make yourself feel better, to make yourself feel beautiful, when I've already defined that in you. From the minute that I decided you're going to be on this earth, in your mother's womb, I've defined you as beautiful because I made you. And if you don't believe that, and you're denying the fact that you feel beautiful or look beautiful, then you're denying the fact that you have a God who is wonderful and admirable, and you just think about the creation and how His fingerprint and His hands are all over that, and how much time He took with you. You're denying God's beauty to deny the beauty of yourself. And so think about yourself in the way that God views you. Don't let all these different things start to overtake you. I'm not saying that they're bad things. I'm not saying that they're things that you need to run away from, or don't take time to take care of yourself. Take time to acknowledge the beauty that God has given you in the inside, and let that just stir up something inside of you so it starts to exude on the outside. And so I want to remind you of that, because honestly, I was struggling the other day. I was like, I do not feel pretty. I do not feel beautiful right now. I feel like my exterior is just not the way I want it to be. But God reminded me and said, look at the things that you're doing, and let that be the testament of how beautiful you are, and look at the things I've spoken to you. And those words, pretty is as pretty does, started to just replay in my mind of like, my beauty is not defined by just the exterior alone. My beauty is defined by who God has called me interiorly and how I'm able to operate and move in that. And that's a whole nother conversation that we might save for another podcast. But as I was just thinking about it, there's been times where my exterior has not been beautiful or pretty and my interior is rotten to the core. Don't let those things also just discourage you either, because there's been moments where I'm like, I've just not been looking good outside or inside. Just allow God to purify. Like we just read, let him purify that. Let him reshape that. Because I have definitely fallen into that trap where I am not, coming through on either side. But allow God to just keep speaking the truth over you and reminding you that you're his daughter and you're his son as well. I know there's also guys who may come across this video, and I feel like we focus a lot on all these different things for girls, but for guys, I know it's just as real. But I just want to remind whoever is just listening to this right now that you don't have to be defined by those things. You don't have to be weighed down by those things, that you've already been spoken over by the creator of the universe. And so keep that in your back pocket. Keep that in your headspace, and just know that I'm praying for you guys. Know that I'm struggling right there with you guys and working through it, because it's not something that I wish that I just snapped my fingers and I became this confident young adult who just has it all together like I kind of thought I would. It's something you got to work through, something you got to go through. And I'm thankful that God has carried me in a lot of ways over the past few years where I can see the growth, but I'm also just as thankful that he doesn't leave me there, and that I'm able to keep submitting where I'm at to him and helping me to carry into the future, the person I want to be. And so as we close out this podcast, you guys know that I'm praying for you guys and that the Lord loves you. He defines you, and just keep his word at the forefront of your hearts and minds throughout this week. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. And until then, keep growing with God. See you guys later.